Hey, welcome to Loose Change, the unredacted version. I'm Jim Evans. Thanks for joining us. We're so glad you did it. I always say that, I'm not kidding. We have a really great, cool show, so hang tight. Now, we taped the show, of course, and we are doing so at the very end of May. So you know what that means, right? Finally, winter is over. And we had no spring at all. It just kind of carried over. And we had a spectacular Memorial Day. And the very next day, typhoon season opened up. So how about all that rain? That was unbelievable. It was so much so that a lot of local jewelry stores ran a special. Half off all flood watches. What time? You heard that one before?
Yeah.
And that means you're listening. Good deal. We're all intents and purposes in the summer now. And summer fun, and oftentimes that means Cedar Point. And I recently read the latest Cedar Point experience. It said that it'll really make your head spin even more. Weak at the knees, you'll be disoriented, your stomach's all twisted. It was called buying an admission ticket. Or we used to go to Cedar Point when we were young, it was $20. Now you gotta trade your car in, maybe, to get interest in the park. What else is going on? Big line in the Democratic presidential hopeful field. Over 20 people, I think, now, including our own Tim Ryan. So best of luck, Tim. Maybe we can talk to him sometime. Who knows? But the latest polls showed Joe Biden in the lead. Now, anything can happen, as we've seen, and we'll see. But I'm not so sure that there's enough people that want to vote for a guy whose Social Security number is 3. So, we'll see what happens. Long way to go, though. Keeping on that theme, did you hear about this elderly couple in Arkansas? And they pulled off this big merchandise heist at a Walmart. They got it on video, too, and you can see it on Walmart's TV channel, the Home Shoplifting Network. Hey, hang around. The great Sam Naples joins us next, right here on Loose Change. We'll cut right to that.
Stream live and recorded content anywhere with EXP from Armstrong. Stay connected to the content you love. With the all-new EXP app, you can browse and manage your shows and set recordings for TV shows, movies, and series. Plus, you can stream your favorite networks directly from your DVR or with TV Everywhere. At home, the app also lets you transform your device into a second TV screen or remote control. Your content, your way, when you want it. EXP from Armstrong.
Welcome back to Loose Change. Again, I'm Jim Evans, and I had the great privilege to be joined by, how do we do this, martial arts expert, all-star, and Hall of Famer, Sam Naples. Sam, it's great to see you. Thanks for coming in again.
Thank you, Jim. It's good to be here again.
You know, what we normally do, we have our victims, our guests off the top, tell a little bit about themselves. Now, we had you on previously, so appreciate you returning again. We know you're a South Side guy. You went to Mooney and grew up over there. But for those who don't know, take us through the path that got you, where you're at with martial arts, if you will.
So I started martial arts. I had always wanted to do it. Started when I was 12. I wanted to play football. Wasn't very good. Wanted to do a lot of things. Wasn't very good. This just seemed to be the thing that clicked with me. I was 15 or 16 actually, and Grandmaster Chun left the Y, or he didn't leave the Y, but he opened a school in Boardman. Then I started going there, and I met Charlie Steppen there, who became my best friend, and he and I started going all over, competing, and then I got injured. And so injury was kind of a blessing and a curse because I had to stop competing, but it was because of that I kind of moved into helping, run competition, and it's kind of an interesting story. I was about 20, 21, and I stopped going to tournaments because I couldn't compete anymore. And so there was a tournament, and Grandmaster Chun says, "Are you going?" And I said, "Nah, I really don't want to." And he says, "Oh, take some kids and go there and help them out." He goes, "Do what I would do." So being really naive, I went there and I went up to the front table and sat down. And only Korean masters were at the front table, no Americans, period. So they're all on the other side of they're like all down at one end, and they're all like talking, and then I realize they're looking at me and talking, and then one master comes up and goes, "So what are you doing here, Sam?" And he knew me, right? And I said, "Well, Mr. Chun said that, he couldn't be here, so I'm supposed to do what he would do, so I'm waiting for somebody to tell me what to do." And he looked at me weird, and then he goes back, and they talk again, and he says, "Okay, come sit next to me at the microphone," and taught me how to run martial arts tournaments. The next thing you know, within a year or a couple years, I'm running Madison Square Garden, I'm running tournaments at the Trump Taj Mahal, and yeah. So that's kind of...
And then you got things going here locally.
Right.
With your own...
Well, I always took over Grandmaster Chun's school and kept teaching. And I got out of it in '06. I believe I sold my schools. I had degenerative arthritis, and it was like almost impossible, to walk, and really depressing to go there, and somebody would make a mistake, and I couldn't fix it because I couldn't walk over to them. And so I got out of the martial arts business. I mean, truthfully, when I left, I didn't even take my black belt. I just left it in the building. And thank God Master Chuck Mersta that bought my school saved it, and he gave it to me when I started teaching again. So then 2014, I had Dr. Tim Domer did double hip replacements, and I wanted to give him a plug because he's a student now. He's a green belt. But anyway, so I got double hip replacements in 2014, and honest to God, my first day of physical therapy, I went, I can do karate again. And from that point,
Amazing.
I wanted to, I started moving toward that. And so I had my school in Canfield up until about a month ago. And one of my best friends, Justin Taylor, who owns Junior Taekwondo, is in the building where my school used to be, next to Jay's Hot Dogs. So Master Taylor's wife, Abby, who was also a really good friend, I actually knew her first, but Abby says, "I want to take lessons off of you." And it's like, "Well, what about your husband's school?" And she says, "Well, I'm kind of like Mrs. Boss, so it's kind of awkward to be a student there and then also be in management, so to speak." So she says, "I think it would be easier to just take lessons off of you." So she had gotten to, I don't know, yellow belt or something, and she goes, "Why don't you come and use one of the salons at our school? They have like 3 separate classrooms, and they usually have one that's available." So it was like, it made sense, and I'm back in the neighborhood where I used to be, and like, the neighbors all recognize me, the other businesses and stuff. Yeah. So it's nice to be back where I'm,
Absolutely.
where I was.
And I said amazing. I mean, I meant that with all sincerity, because I kind of reconnected with you a handful of years back, and you were not in good shape at all.
No.
And I was like, wow, I don't even know how you got around. And then you had this procedure, and I had seen you a little while, and then I saw you again. It's like, it was
truly
incredible. Seriously. Yeah. I mean, a totally different guy. So
I'm so grateful. Yeah.
Absolutely. What would you, who would you recommend martial arts to, and at what age, or does it matter? It's open for everybody.
Good question. I can pay some bills right here. First of all, I only teach adults. Right,
That's I remember you saying,
right. You have to be old enough to drive. Like, I'll take somebody 16, 17, but not younger than that. But in Junior Taekwondo, where Master Taylor is, they do them from little kids on up. And in fact, they have a summer camp that starts in a couple weeks. If you wanted to call Junior Taekwondo and ask for Abby. And I know that you drop the kid off in the morning, and they spend the day there. They take karate classes. They go on trips and all kind of activities that I don't remember. But they do a great job with children. I'm concerned with adults that want to learn to defend themselves. And like just as an example, like you're the perfect person that I'm looking for, in the sense that you're really busy. You don't have a lot of free time. I've got one student that comes 7 o'clock in the morning twice a week. I've got another student that comes Tuesday night, Thursday at lunchtime, that's actually Dr. Domer, and then Saturday morning at 7 o'clock. Wow. And it's like, I have no set class schedule. So whenever the student can get together with me, that's when we have class. So it's kind of, people that want to do it, don't want to be in a room full of little kids. Because, in so many martial arts schools, because of logistics, you just have to have adults and kids together. But we're only adults, and it's geared totally towards self-defense. It's classical, authentic, martial arts. It's not the sport aspect.
I'm going to sign up one of these days here. At least I
Right.
plan on. But martial arts, in its entirety, it is about self-defense, but there's a lot more that you benefit from, right?
Yeah, the mental and spiritual benefits, sure. And you know, spiritual always is kind of an iffy term because, like, you know, I always, you know, when people talk about the spiritual part of the martial arts, I always talk about how I went to Cardinal Mooney and there was Mooney spirit. So it's kind of a, you know, a positive attitude and a
Right.
belief in yourself. It's not like some spirit that's going to whatever, but it's really developing an attitude that I can accomplish anything that I set my mind to. And in the martial arts, it's like, you know, whoever figured it out, it's done so brilliantly because there are, you know, it's like the challenges at each belt become increasingly more difficult and more difficult, but you grow into them. And, you know, like I want to be with people that are better than me. You know, in a lot of things you want to try to be the best. I want to find people that know more than me, that are better than me, that I can learn off of.
You're still learning that.
Oh,
huh?
yes, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, in fact, in my planner, I've got like 7 or 8 seminars that I want to go to as soon as I can squeeze them in. But yeah, there's just so much to learn.
There's no ceiling to that.
No, I'm always going to be a student.
Great.
Yeah,
Well,
I might not always be a teacher, but I'll always be a student.
That's all right. There's nothing wrong with that. And of course, the last time we had you in, you had a lot of things going on that were things of recognition. Can you touch on that briefly?
Yes. So
before we get to the
actually, like I don't know if we talked about this, but I think it was 1984, I was inducted into the All-American Hall of Fame. That
Right.
was like at Madison Square Garden.
Yes.
And then in 2015, I believe, I got inducted into the Bruce Lee Legends of Honor with Grandmaster Chun and also with Grandmaster Steppen. And then in September of 2017, I got inducted into the official Taekwondo Hall of Fame, right? I got the ring. I wore the ring purposely.
Beautiful.
Just so you
There
can
you are.
see that, right? But, and that was actually, sadly, that was Charlie, my best friend Charlie died while I was at the Hall of Fame. And so he'd had health issues, but anyway, but that was that's the pinnacle in martial arts. And then a couple weeks ago, I was so humbled to be inducted into the Curbstone coaches. And I
good
mean,
lead in. I was just gonna.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No,
Okay.
no, don't.
Yeah, and it was I was sitting there and I'm hearing these guys speak, and there's the one gentleman, I'm ashamed, I'm terrible at names, that he played on 3 different pro
Yeah, I
football
know.
teams, and he's an older gentleman. And I was almost crying, and I'm going, what am I doing here? and yeah, it was really, really an emotional thing. I was really grateful to be
How did that all
invited
come
into that.
about? Do you know?
But I guess they have some committee, and somebody mentioned me, and the thing is too that in the program they have all these different categories. So it's this football Curbstone coaches, and there's 50 names or whatever, and baseball and all the other sports. There was no martial artist ever inducted, so I
you're the
committed.
one and
I
only,
created
yeah.
a new category, right? So other people can be inducted and come after me, but I was the first. So that even made it more humbling. That's they picked me to be the first. So
makes it all the more special for you.
Yeah.
There's a great picture they gave you over there in that plaque.
Yes.
You want to grab that?
Sure. Yeah, that's
Put that up for the camera here.
Mike
And,
Sanko, the photographer, did this, and he is really great at taking not too attractive people and making them look good. So I was really grateful for what he did with this. But yeah, Mike Sanko is a great photographer. He did this for the Curbstone coaches, and every one of us got a picture like this.
that's really cool. And again, they do this with scholarships in mind for young folks, and that's what it's all about, along with recognizing the great people that we've had in our area and their achievements in sports.
Right, yeah, and that's the great thing is all the proceeds go directly to scholarships, and it's a great organization. I'm considering. I mean, I believe I'm going to join. They're kind of done until the summer's over, but in the fall I'm going to maybe get more involved with it because it's such a great organization.
When you found out that you were going to be in the group, what came to your mind about, hey, what am I going to say up there? What's going to be my little speech?
I probably, like they said you have 2 minutes to speak.
Yeah.
I went for 9 minutes. It's like, I'm surprised that like they didn't have the big hook, or maybe they were afraid of me because of whatever. But it was like,
come out, chop your
and like, so I wrote my speech, and there were just people I wanted to thank, and I kept cutting, and it just didn't get any shorter. Like, you know, the doctor that did my surgery, and my family doctor, and yeah, just so many people that I'm grateful for, that I would. Yeah, so it's like I just felt like I don't know who else I could get out of it.
Did you have any other theme in mind? Obviously, you had so many people to think, you probably didn't have a chance to get into it. And with only a couple minutes.
Kind of fair. No, it's honestly similar to the story I just told.
Okay.
You know, I mean, I started off, I was 12 years old, I
Yeah,
did the martial arts, and then I was competing, then I was running tournaments and, judging at Madison Square Garden. And so it was, that was kind of like the speech. And then at each area I would say, and that's when I met Charlie Steppen, or, Grandmaster Chun put me in charge, so it was just kind of like my life. And hopefully this isn't a downer, but my really good friend Joe Maxon passed away the week before, and Joe was the head of the Crimstone coaches forever. And we got our black belts together, and his son is a brown belt in Austintown at Master Rosemary Isabella's Austintown Taekwondo. And they're just such good friends, and it was kind of bittersweet for Joe to not be there. But
I know how much part of that he was, and the international recognition you've achieved is fantastic. But I would also think that having this local recognition has to be maybe as special, if not more.
It is. It's like, it's funny too, because like you don't. At least I didn't go out and say, I want to do all this stuff. I just kind of did what I would, what I did. And, it's like, I couldn't believe how many people knew all about the Curbstone coaches. And I had people coming up to me at restaurants and funeral homes and like seriously going, you're in the Curbstone coaches, congratulations. Yeah. And the organization is just so amazing. And it's like really, really humbling. It's like, sometimes, people come up to me and, I don't know what to say. I'm grateful and humbled, and it was such a blessing.
This is the one thing, we've had a lot of sports banquets and events in our area over the years, but this is the one mainstay that, it's a block of granite that's been there and been going. It's always well attended.
Right.
And it's really a fantastic event.
Well, and, back when I first started at the YMCA, and, Grandmaster Chun was teaching there, we used to once a year do a demo for the Curbstone coaches. So I actually performed for them as a kid a few times, but I'd never been to this banquet. And I'd even thought, I'll do a demo there. And they said, no, you don't understand. There's no time for that. And I didn't understand what an amazing thing this was. But
absolutely. Well, we're going to take a break, and then we're going to come back and do some. You're going to do some cool stuff for us again, aren't you?
Well, we'll see.
All right. Sam Naples, we'll be right back. You're on Loose Change.
What's on tonight?
Back on Loose Change with Sam Naples, and he's going to get ready to do some really cool stuff here. But during the break, you were talking about how things kind of materialized with this in Japan. If you just touch on that story briefly.
Sure. So, after my surgery, and I'm thinking I'm going to teach again, and I started reading a bunch of ancient books. I'm like, I want to learn new stuff. And in one of the books, you were saying that originally in Okinawa, which is like where Japan and Korea got some of their stuff from Okinawa, they said that there were 5 parts to training: flexibility, strength training. Now, we never did that.
Yeah.
It was like taboo to lift weights in the 70s. It'll make you muscle bound and you won't be able to compete. So we didn't do weight training. Impact training was important, hitting bags, and they had these boards that you punched and all this stuff that you've probably never seen. And then self-defense was 4th, and then the forms, like the dance moves, were 5th. But the form was kind of like for lack of a better term, a mnemonic. It was a way to help you remember the self-defense moves. So you learn all these self-defense moves, then you do this pattern so you won't forget them. So then in Japan before the war, World War II, they see this video or movie of Jack Dempsey boxing. And they're like in love with boxing. We're going to bring this over and it'll militarize the kids. They'll want to,
yeah.
you know, right? So somebody goes, why don't we bring that stuff from Okinawa and make our own spectator sport? So they brought karate to Okinawa specifically to make it a spectator sport. They scrapped strength training. They scrapped how to hit hard. We used to kick like papers and things like that. It was all about how to get a point, not how to defend yourself. And it was continually dumbed down, you know, for lack of a better term, because they wanted it to be safe. And the safer it is, the you know, less usable it is. And so I kind of feel like I'm an archaeologist. I'm, you know, looking at these movements that nobody knows what they were for, and there's a term, heisul, which means the explanation of what the moves are. And that's the way I'm teaching. So I'm teaching it, you know, specifically for self-defense and how to apply the little, you know, dance things that we do. And my attitude was, if there's not a practical reason for doing them, let's not do them, right? It'd be better to just do bag work or, you know, what a boxer does or whatever. But so anyway, that's kind of.
And no strength training.
Well, no, yeah, I do. I do a lot of weight training. Yeah.
Good, okay.
You know, we didn't mention it, but I teach at the California Palms, which is now a drug rehab center, and for mainly veterans. And they have a weight room there, so I lift there, and yeah, so.
Good deal.
Yeah, weight training's good.
What are you going to show us?
Okay, first thing I'm going to do is break a brick. This is kind of my usual thing. And so I'm going to do this first, and then maybe we'll do some board breaking. And then if there's time, I'd like to maybe teach you a little bit of self-defense.
All right.
Okay, so.
What, do we need a drum roll? I don't know.
There we
That's
go.
a tough brick.
Yes, it was.
Tough guy.
Okay. And then
Send that one back to the prop room.
if you would hold this for me, just two hands straight.
Uh-oh.
And I'm going to do this one. Go ahead, hold it here.
Uh-oh.
And keep your arms straight. Okay.
You getting this?
Good.
Well, I got to make sure my insurance is paid.
Right.
Do I need to do that?
Oh, no, that's when you break. You got to worry
all
about
right.
it.
All right.
Good.
How about that?
And then the.
I can't do it with my head. I mean,
Well, you could.
I can't even break a 20. What do you? let alone bricks or wood. I don't know. What am I supposed to do here if you want me to try this?
So how about an elbow strike? That's a really good self-defense move, is hitting the guy this way. So step forward with that foot just a little bit. And put your, actually.
I got to keep the jacket on.
Right, but-
look, I got my black belt too. I wear for Sam for this, just in case.
Step back with that foot. So
Okay.
switch your feet around. And we're going to use this elbow because we want it to be toward the camera. And so put your left arm here, right? Well, you taught me a lot. Good. Your left elbow goes this way across, just like when you played football and you weren't supposed to hit the guy
Well, I
that
would
way.
do with this one, but
Yeah.
so
And just
we'll try this in 3, 2, 1. Loose change.
great job.
Look at that. It's paper.
Thank
I
you,
mean,
Jim.
it's
Right.
paper. That's all it's been. But really cool stuff. And
Yes, sir.
These things, how do these things apply in how you teach self-defense, or do they?
That's perfect. Yes. Okay. So I'm going to show you just a couple moves, and then I'll show you how it applies. Right. So there's a move that we do. It's called Teguk Saran, and it's something that somebody would be learning toward the end of their first year. Right. So there's a move that goes like this. Right. Just really simple. And so kind of stand square off like you're in your fighting stance. Okay, so guy and trust me, good. Guy punches with this hand, just block easy. Block with this hand, block here. Good. Then he punches with this hand and block, and you grab his shoulder and you clock him with your elbow right there. Right? So
Easier said than done.
right. So a couple times go. So it's block with, that's it, same hand, block, and the elbow goes right. And then we would practice doing it, so you would step in. And the other thing that we try to do, particularly from a self-defense standpoint, one more time, good, is block here. No, with this hand.
Okay.
Good, block. And then block here, right, is you want to step that way. No, with this
the
foot.
left foot.
With the front foot. Step
Okay.
like behind me if you could. It's right. So that when you're hitting me here, you're also far away from my free hand. because that's the concern, is what's to stop there from being a third punch. And that was like so much, in the old days, like, karate people would do a demo and somebody would go like this and stand here, and then the guy would do 47 things, and he would whatever, and people would go, nobody would stand there, right? And so, when I started, doing this research, it was so much about, we're getting away from the free hand or tying up the free hand while you're hitting it with your other hand, and so anyway, so that's just using the elbow strike against the simple haymaker. Another thing I thought I'd like to demonstrate is the defense against a push. Okay. And so a lot of fights start with a guy pushing. So first thing you're going to do.
I didn't loosen up for this stuff, right. So who knows what's going to happen.
Right.
But
well, that's
another thing.
We won't talk about the alcohol. But good. Bring your hands up like this and cross them. Good. So you cross your hands when the guy goes to push you, and then you open your arms, right?
Okay.
So go. Now, when you do this, good, I'm going to do it one more time. Cross your arms, right? Guy goes to push, right? His momentum is going to go forward. So you're immediately going to put your hands on his shoulders just like that and then push me away. Right. Okay, so do that again. So, and push right. And one more time. Go. Push and then kick with whichever leg you want to kick. Perfect. Right, and the groin is perfect target for there.
How about a shin or a knee?
You know what? I love to kick people in the shin. We spend a lot of time on that. It's like, with your shoes on, from the shin to the ankle is so vulnerable for self-defense. That's what
attention.
Yeah, right. And it's like, because it's Taekwondo, we do a lot of kicking, but we, you do all this kick head stuff and whatever, and right there ends the fight so quickly, and it's almost worse than the groin.
Is it more with the hands than feet?
Taekwondo, our type is 50-50. Okay. But it's Taekwondo that's in the Olympics, that's a sport, is like 90% feet. And it looks, it's beautiful, except when the guy's right here. And so that's where you have to be able to use your hands and your feet. And if you end up on the ground, how to get free from being on the ground too. So
this is a valuable thing for everybody, and even as much for women. Do you have a lot of women that are involved?
Actually, about 60% women to 40% men. My youngest students in her, actually Mrs. Taylor's the youngest, and I don't know if I'm allowed to say her age, but she's older than 20. And our oldest student is 79 years old, and he started about a few years ago, and so that's kind of like who we're geared toward.
That's fantastic. You have anything special coming up that people should know about what you're doing?
Me specifically, well, actually, I should have talked about this like an hour ago, but last Saturday, the 25th, was my 50th anniversary doing martial arts. 50 years ago, May 25th, I took my first karate class.
Fantastic.
And so I'm still going to, I think, do some kind of celebration for that. The timing between the Curbstone coaches and moving to Master Tailors and just doing all that just didn't fit in, trying to squeeze something. But I don't know that we have to do it on the exact date. But this is my 50th year, and I'm so grateful to still be kicking.
That's absolutely, that's the perfect way to put it. Sensational. Sam, it's great to see you.
Jim,
Thanks so
always
much for
a pleasure.
Coming back in. Congratulations, and best of luck
Thank you,
the rest
sir.
of the way. Sam Naples, we'll be right back to wrap it up here on Loose Change. Look out, I'm good now.
Zoom. For well over 2 decades, it's been the area's most reliable internet service. And our wireless network keeps your whole home connected to the internet, no matter how many different devices you have. Call or visit us online and see the difference speed can make. The future is faster with Zoom.
Well, that's going to do it for our show, unfortunately, but thanks so much to the great Sam Naples. Congratulations, Sam. Way to go. Thanks, as always, to Greg Roden, and, of course, as always, Mom and Dad, and to my sister, Deb, for having us down to North Carolina at Southport for a great time along with Joe, Brother Tim, Beth and James, and, of course, as always, Heidi. Thanks to you guys, too. And don't forget, check us out on YouTube. Go to Armstrong Loose Change, and we'll see you next time right here. You know what? Hey, Google. When are we done here? I had another bit, and I want to see if I had more time. I guess we're done.